What's happening, everyone? My name is Zack Xander, and you're checking out the 3 Count Podcast.
Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really wanna ride with me? I'm in the club, baby, grind on me. Do you wanna get live with me? Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really want to ride?
Welcome everybody to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Into Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by our 300th episode, season 4, new location, new things happening all over here, I would just hope you say with me, I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring today? You can find this person at the Sanctuary. You can find this person at Smashmaster Frontier. We are one Orochi in High Tension. He is the extremely great wrestler and good friend of yours truly, Zack Xander.
Red Dog, thank you so much for having me, my friend. I remember watching this podcast many a moons ago, and now to get to be here in the ring, in the squared circle. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I'm with that. Let's do it, baby.
Our friendship, goes back,
oh, yeah.
before
yeah.
we went pro.
Yeah, dude. It's wild. Oh, man. Do you want to tell the story? I think it'd be more fitting if you told the story.
So I met Zack while performing the dark arts, and those who pay attention to the show know what Chaz and I talk about when we talk about the dark arts. I remember meeting you for the first time. You had the blue briefs with the barbed wire on them.
Yeah, the blue trunks. I still got those. It's crazy. Blue trunks. The Lucha kick pads. I still wear those kick pads today. Yeah, I just had the covers over them. That was insane. I didn't even realize y'all made a thing out of that, but I love that you did.
Well, it's you have to be realistic, right? A lot of people that go pro, right, usually got their start because of one, being a fan, right, or two, they were being a fan and then they wanted to go pro, or they were being a fan and they went to the backyard before they went to go pro. And it's important to kind of have those conversations without really having those conversations, because I obviously do not perform in the backyard no more, right?
No.
But for 10 months, that's what I wanted to do, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what a training school was, and honestly, I didn't even know where I could find one, to be real. And so I was like, yo, this is as close as I'm gonna get to the ring, might as well try. And then it wasn't until I met Vam that Vam was like, yo, let me introduce you to my friend Nick. And then Sicken took me, and then I started running crazy after that, because then it became real, meeting Kindred over at ACW Adrenaline Championship Wrestling, and meeting Vam, and going on from there. But I was this is probably as close as I'm gonna get, so I might as well just hang out here. And this has turned into so much more clearly.
One of the biggest pieces that I've learned when I first got into it was never get comfortable. If you can move forward, just move forward, find something new. Don't stay at the same spot. But like you said, because you did that and you got out there, you got to meet all these cool people, like meeting Sicken and meeting Vam, all those dudes who are able to help you progress your career to where you are today, so you could be the wrestler that you are now.
Yeah, no, and then I remember when you and I met and we talked in the back, right? You were just so kind and helpful, and you were just hey, mind you, I was turning 33. I was in my early 30s, trying to figure this out. And I remember being at that show at the warehouse and just being where the hell am I? And what the hell is this? And
right?
How am I trying to figure all this stuff out and learn and understand? And I still go back and watch some of those matches and just be oh yeah, you are trash, my guy.
Oh wait, you got your footage?
Yeah.
You got your footage. That's incredible.
I got the footage of the first Rumble that you and I were in.
I've never even seen that. You'd have to send that to me.
Send it to you.
Thank you.
It's so bad.
Um,
It's so bad.
no, that's fair. I remember when I first met you, you just got into it. This was either your first or your second appearance. Because I remember you were going around the locker room introducing yourself to a lot of people, and it was like, all right, cool, yeah, the first time I saw you, the first impression I got was like, this guy's got to look like he's going for it, like if he wants to do it, like this dude definitely got him. Me, mind you, I'm also in the yard at this point, but like I'm like this dude definitely like he's got something, um, and he's got a look, and I could, yeah, all right, word, if he goes for this, like he's got a shot at this.
Yeah, and then like, and then we like fast forward like a couple years, we run into each other at DWA,
Yeah,
and there's you and RJ, and I was like, holy shit, like here's some of the dudes that was in the backyard. Here we are now, like in a kind of in a
right,
bigger scene, right? I want to say a big scene, right? But it was a bigger scene than
yeah,
what we were. And
yeah,
like it
oh
was
yeah,
just so cool. And then like getting to sit back and watch you do your work and stuff like that, I was like, man, see, I was a fan of this kid before this all started. I'm still a fan of his. Like watching him
I
kind of
appreciate
progress
that.
through, I was like, it's definitely cool to see.
Yeah, so shoot story, real story about this. I had no idea you were gonna be there that day. And I didn't know. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna just, I'm gonna go to work, do my thing, have a match, whatever. And then you pulled up and I'm like, what? And like, yeah, as soon as I saw you, like it was like, what's happening, bro? Like I see you. I know you're out there. I see you doing your thing. You're keeping up.
It,
So
it was
so
funny, man, because like with you, right? I didn't even know I was gonna be at that show
yeah,
until Sickened hit me up at like, I think he hit me up like late the night before because I guess like his
okay.
opponent had
Backed
called
out.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were looking for somebody, and he was like, "Yo, just let me wrestle my student. It'll be fine. Yeah, it'll be a great match. Trust me, and we're just gonna go from there." And they're like, all right, cool, just bring him, I guess, we'll see. And then like I showed up, and then they're like, yeah, no, you guys work each other.
Yeah.
Red Dog, you work heel. I was like, all
Yeah.
right, let's go.
Let's do it, baby. And it's so crazy because like I mean, against second, I guess someone's got to be the heel. But like, I don't. When I picture Red Dog, I don't picture Red Dog necessarily as a heel. I mean, especially with Red Dog's fun facts of the day or whatever. Bring that series back. Um,
What's funny, man, is that like it is wild because like you watching you progress, right, and going through the sanctuary and then working with people, J.S. Hawthorne, right,
oh yeah,
who's been on the podcast before too, and seeing
perfect.
some of the guys that you've been working with and training with and developing and stuff, like seeing your character kind of grow and mold into like this entirely different beast. Because I remember like back before everything, right? Obviously, we're untrained. We're
Hmm.
just kind of learning as we're just going
Yeah,
along, and just to see from where you were and then to see you actually pack on, and not that I'm trying to be like behind whatever, but you're packing on some muscle now, like you're like adding some weight to yourself. I'm like, hey, okay, let's go, we got some things going on here. it's
something, not
it's
much,
so
but
cool,
something.
it's so cool to see you continue to push and develop and grow into the person that you are. Like I was definitely hyped when I got to see you behind and then watch your match. I was like, hey, yo, let's go. My man got some skill going on. I was like, he's just gonna keep growing and growing and growing and reaching for new ceilings. It's like this is gonna be awesome to watch.
No, I appreciate that, man. Truth be told, I just got lucky. Like I got to be around people who's given me some really good like dietary advice and muscle advice, and people who've been able to like work with me. And I know I don't got much, but like I got to be around a lot of good hands, for a lot of different reasons, like muscle wise, excuse me. I got to be around some good hands. Vision, like character wise, I got to be around a lot of great hands, and I'm thankful for all the hands that I've been with, like to help produce me to be the wrestler that I am right now. And I to hone on a piece of advice I mentioned earlier, not to stay comfortable and to be able to keep going to all these different places, and for me to be able to learn things and see things and meet people. JS Hawthorne, he's been a big help. All of the guys at the sanctuary, truth be told, have been a very big help. And like I owe a lot of them, or a lot of that, to them. Um, JS Hawthorne's a great dude. I'll always say it. He's never given me any issues. He's always been super nice, and he's helped me go around. Like, because of JS Hawthorne, I got to go to different promotions that I'd never, ever in a million years thought I'd be at. It's been fun. It's been a wild ride.
Yes, it has been something of the thespian to go about
Yes.
and do his business and handle it. It's a Tony that you win. Like,
Something theatrical.
I'm such a and he knows it too. Like, I'm such a fan. Like, we were working together at Orochi. We'll use Orochi because it was with Tyler. So we were working together, and he puts me in his Russian leg sweep, right? And he was he's like, take a bow, and I was like, do I get to win an Oscar? And he was like, it's a Tony. And then he goes to slam me, right? And as he slams me, I roll over and I look at the camera, and I'm like, can I just get the Razzie right now? And I remember looking over, and he went like this and like covered his face because he was laughing. He's like trying not to break character.
Good. No, I love it when that happens.
I was like, he's one of those guys that I definitely like have a lot of fun like being around and getting to talk to, and like hear his opinions and stuff like that. And then he's such a great mind for the business. And let's be real, this is my favorite thing about him. And JS, this is me telling you right now, your Mick Foley impressions are fucking spot on, and
No, for real. Oh my god, he takes a lot of pride in that. I've seen him, do a lot of things that not a lot of people have seen him do. And that getting into that Mick Foley mindset of his is one of those things. And oh man, he's dead on with it. He's a good hand with that. He's fantastic.
What's funny is that we're talking about like impressions and stuff like that, because I was just showing my client who Stu Bennett is, right? And I'm a massive, like, I'll be real, I'm a massive mark for Wade Barrett. And I know like that's not the term that you're supposed to use, right? I'm a fan. I study his stuff. I listen to him. I love Wade Barrett, right? And I think he's so cool. But like, I love his promo work a lot more. So I could be like, he's up there and he's like, John Cena, if you're up here and you lose this match, well, I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you.
Yeah.
Like, I just love the grumble in his voice. And it's like, this is Wade Barrett. You're about to be hit with the Barrett barrage. And I'm like, I love
I'll give him the bull hammer.
I'll give him the bull hammer. Like, yes. Yeah. The wasteland is real. The cosmic wasteland is here. Like,
dude. Like, even when he was thrown in that random team with Cody, that was kind of fun.
They had like their own little faction too. They had the Ascension was with them.
Yeah, like it made no sense, but yeah, you know what? It works. Whatever, man.
Gonna throw something together. I was like, I was a massive fan, but I love doing impressions of Wade Barrett because I think, like, the way he has his own delivery, I'm like, bro, I've studied that delivery and just like learned it like to the T. And I'm like, I one day I cannot wait to meet Stu Bennett. Just tell him like, hey, rank my impression of you 1 to 10.
Yeah, right.
But so like we started a whole series about talking about meeting in the dark arts, right? Like, what made you want to make that jump from there to the ring?
So, like there to the ring, and how? What context?
Like what made you want to go pro? What made you want to jump?
Okay, so I've always wanted to go pro. I just never knew the people to go pro. I never knew how to go pro. And when I first started, in the state of Pennsylvania, you have to be the age of 18 to train. I was not 18. So starting in the dark arts was a way for me to get experience in the ring. I've always wrestled in a professional ring. I've never wrestled in a backyard or backyard ring, a makeshift ring, however you want to call it, dark arts ring, if you will. Um, every ring that I've worked has always been a professional ring. Like from the '80s to modern day to a low boy, high boy. Like at that point, I've been in all different shapes and sizes rings, all of which were pro rings. So like I was able to get my bumps and reps in at the time, but like I never knew how to do it safely or correctly. Well, not safely because you had the pro that went back to the yard and yeah. So like I had a basic method of how to do it safely, just never knew the structure of it. Never knew how to build a match, never knew like the steps, the psychology behind it. Like didn't know the I knew your basics, your fundamentals. I just didn't know how to work a match. Um, so in 2019, after I'd gone to, the dark arts where you were at, my one friend who was doing pro stuff and who was in the pro scene. His name's Yankee. I don't know if you met Yankee, but yeah, Yankee the difference maker.
Yeah, no, yeah. I know
Okay.
who you're talking about.
So Yankee. Yankee, who was doing pro stuff at the time, like he offered to train me and he offered to help me, and I owe him so much for that because that was my first step into going into the pro scene, into seeing what it was like to be a professional wrestler. So like he already knew, again because of backyard stuff or dark art stuff, excuse me, like that I knew my basic fundamentals and that stuff. So like he just gave me the basic rundown, the drills. He taught me uh, a good hand of things that I learned at first, and then Yankee introduced me to Gino Caruso, who runs ECPW, East Coast Pro Wrestling. Um, Gino gave me the opportunity to train there at his school. I refed a few shows. I started actually 2 weeks from today is going to be my 2 year anniversary. 2 weeks from the day we're recording this is going to be my 2 year anniversary into
Nice.
pros, into the pro shows and that stuff. Um, yeah, ref for him, did all that stuff. But Gino was a little too far out for me and for my liking. So I was, stuck scrambling. I was looking around, seeing where I can go. But at that point, I was just taken up on seminars and that stuff. So like I was
Hmm.
keeping busy. What did I do? I did I did classes or a class with Alpha Junior. Um, I did Doc Gallo's seminar, Bob Backlund. Um, I think that's it. That's all I can remember at the moment. But like, yeah, I got to learn from like Alpha Junior for a little bit. I got to experience what a Samoan class was like, and it's a very, very tough class, which is why I have all the respect in the world for any person that's gone through the Samoan classes and done the Samoan drills and that stuff. Because they are in a lot better shape than I'll ever be. Uh,
It's crazy though because like I was so full transparency, right, for everybody, right? I was
yeah,
given advice by somebody back in 2019 of told, hey, hang out in the backyard for a couple years, develop your character. That way you have something to go into the pros with, right? And
right.
it was like, yeah, no,
No,
not at
don't
all.
do that.
I
No, no,
was
don't.
like, I'm going pro.
If you know my what I'm doing right now is completely different than what I did in the dark arts. Um, definitely don't do that. Like as soon I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I'm gonna go here, do this now. I'm like, what am I gonna do? What's the brand? What's the look?
Yeah.
Um,
It was
so
what's so curious, like, right? So you came up with the
yeah,
extremely good wrestler, and I know
yeah.
I know before we went live, right? We were talking about kind of breaking away from that. Like, what made you develop a character like that and like grow that character the way you have?
Well, so what made me want to do the extremely great thing? Um, well, I knew that I'm going in. I'm Zack Xander. And that X is a good thing. Like I like that X. Um, throw up the X a little bit, see how it works. Okay, people are liking it. What does the X stand for? What does it mean? Um, eventually, I settled on extremely great wrestler. For at the time I thought it was cool. But I did the extremely great bit. Um, yeah, did the extremely great wrestler. And it's not to say that I'm an extremely great wrestler, but it's every time I get in that ring, um, that moment in the ring, the wrestling is extremely great. That moment is extremely great. Hanging out and seeing the reactions of everyone, that to me is extremely great. And for every show that I've wrestled on, every place that I performed at, every show that I wrestled, or yeah, or stunt fought, because Sanctuary, everywhere that I've been to, like that to me has always been extremely great because I was able to go into a show and learn something and leave with more knowledge than I went in with. And that to me is something I always considered as extremely great. So that is making me an extremely great wrestler, I feel.
I like that. I like that a lot. Like, I mean, it's something for me. Like, I've been going to like the Wrestling Open
Yeah.
in Worcester, Massachusetts, right, for the last 8 weeks.
Yes.
At a recording this, right? It's the last 8 weeks,
Okay.
and just taking notes, legit,
Right.
just sitting down, hanging out, and just taking notes, right? I got to work the first week I moved up to Massachusetts. I got to work for the Open, which was cool, and I got to be in a quick match. And then
Okay.
I've worked a practice match since then, and then just kind of hung on the sidelines and just kind of watched.
Yeah.
But just taking notes and like observing from a different point of view and like seeing what the crowd responds to and how they respond and what they're looking for and
Yeah.
what the promoter and the bookers are always talking about. So it's always kind of cool to just like interpret and listen and find out exactly what's missing and what I can do
Yeah.
to kind of fill that void. So I've been sitting back, just like legit. I filled up my first notebook that I had from 2020. I filled it up. Like
Okay.
it's got nowhere. So I had to buy a whole new notebook just so I could go back through and write more notes down.
Love
Um,
that.
but it's been fun. It's been fun to like able to look and grow my character. And then like on Twitter, like I'm always like tagging the Wrestling Open and then just
Yeah.
like writing stuff in there, um, just attaching my name to shit that just doesn't really. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
Someone's
I
gonna
get
know
that.
and see what I'm talking about. But it's the fun part about like being able to sit back, look at your character, and be like, all right, how's my character going to get into this business and work, right? Because when I met you originally, I know that in the dark arts, they were like, hey, you're kind of like this Brock Lesnar type wrestler in
Right. Yeah.
Fed, and we want to keep you that way. And I was like, cool. But I knew in my heart, right, that if I had
That's not what you
gone
want.
pro, that's not going to happen because
Yeah.
there's so much. There's like, first, Brock Lesnar he's like 6'4", like 285. He's a monster of a man. And I'm over here like 220, or I think at the time when I met you, it was like 210. And I was
Yeah.
a fat blob. Like not a fat blob, I'll be fair, I was just fatter. And so
Right.
getting in, I was like, all right, I need to change my way I look, need to change the way I eat and lift and the way I act and the way I talk to people and stuff like that. And I know like I thought my first gimmick was just gonna be given to me by my trainer because I don't know why. Uh, so I took on like the more serious mantle of like a serious mercenary because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Um,
Okay.
and then once I realized like I wanted to be more like Deadpool, everything
Yeah.
kind of clicked, and that's where I started running with it. So it's one of those things where it's like, how do you like you control your character, you do what you want, you grow the character, and then you start to learn how to do it. Like, what kind of exercises do you feel like you're running through to like help grow who's who Xander is?
It's literally just being myself. I think just being myself times 10. If I see something that I like, I'll focus on that and I'll see how I can incorporate that. Like I know sometimes I'll sit down, I'll watch my old buddies, uh, the Full Boogie Tilt T Ray YouTube channel. Go subscribe. There's the one plug per show. And like I mean, those dudes, they're funny dudes. So like they'll throw out a one liner and I'll be like, oh okay, gotta like that line, maybe I can see how can I work with that, and like see how I can incorporate that bit into the gimmick, or like if I'm sitting just flipping through the TV and like I see something like not even wrestling related, like just on television, and it's like, all right, I like this mannerism, or like I like this line, I like how he acted, or how he reacted, um, like how they did this or how them or they did that. Um, just picking up on mannerisms, seeing how it could pick that a little bit, pick the reasoning and the logic behind that. That those are big things that I think that help not only expand yourself but also expand your brand.
I like that. And it's like for me, like I know like I just recently I went back and watched the Mortal Kombat movie, the new one that
Yeah,
came out like over 2020.
yeah,
And like I started seeing some things that Cole was doing, and I was like, I'm gonna incorporate this into my move set. I was like,
right.
there's
Yeah,
some stuff in there. I was like, mm, I like how that looked. I'm about to utilize this and see what people do when I react the way I react.
oh yeah,
I find it interesting too, just like you, right? Like, if I see something like on TV, or if I see something in like a movie or like in a video game, and I think it's something that might work in a wrestling ring, I try my best to pull it in and incorporate it. Uh,
yeah. Another way, sorry to cut you off, another way too, like even in books, because you can't necessarily get the visual, but you could hear it, well, see it like in text, displayed in front of you.
yeah,
And it's like, all right, I like that. How, like, what would that look like? What would that be? So like even in books, that's a good way to go at it.
yeah, I like that too. You know what's funny is like I wonder, like I know it's wild because like you're talking about books and stuff like that, and I've been listening to Be Water, My Friend, right, the Bruce Lee book
Okay.
that's read by Shannon Lee.
Yeah.
Um, So I'm like listening to the book and stuff like that, and like just interpreting like so much of like how to be fluid and stuff, and just kind of be in the moment. And I've talked about this a couple times with some other people off air. Like you're the first time that I'm going to be talking about it on air.
Okay.
One of my favorite moments, right, in the book was they're talking about the movie Enter the Dragon, right? Um,
Right.
and Bruce Lee is talking about throw a roundhouse kick at me, right? And he's talking to his pupil, and his pupil like throws this like beautiful looking kick, and he's like, "What
Yeah.
are we at an exhibition? No, throw some emotion to it." And then so he throws out of anger and it just goes off tilt, right? He's like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. He's like, I just want you to be in the moment with me and throw this kick. And so he does, and then they start kind of parrying back and forth. And it's the point where they get lost in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And they just kind of let things be fluid. And it's one of those things where I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, that's like a beautiful way to like capture a moment. And then he asked his student, he's like, yo, how did that feel? And so his student went to start thinking. He smacked his student and he was like, no, don't think about it. He's like,
How did it
how
feel?
did it feel? And it's one of those things where like I remember it clicking for me, especially for like in the business, right? Because I have a tendency of like thinking A, B, C, D, E, F, like and
Right.
just running. And people know, they can see it. Like they can tell when people are thinking about certain moments.
Yeah.
So finally, when I was doing my practice match this last time with fun fact, Osiris. What's up, bro?
Okay.
I know you're gonna be on the
What's up?
show. Uh, when I got to run the match, I just let everything go, and I was like, I'm just gonna react, right? And so I was
Yeah.
just lost in the moment under my character, and it was one of the coolest feelings that I've had in such a long time being in this bit, right? Like my favorite moment, right, was like one of my first moments of getting into the business, right? Like getting into the ring, seeing how people were going to react. I knew that I was brand new. No one's going to really react to me. It was what it was.
Right.
Then hearing people tell me that certain shit that I was doing was awesome. And then like I remember like stuff building and being in new areas and working with people and gaining the respect of a lot of colleagues around me, right?
Yeah.
But like working with Osiris and just kind of getting lost in the moment and just forgetting that there's these two dudes who are like putting on a show. They're fighting, right? But they're reacting to each other. It was one of those moments where I'm like, I'm never gonna forget this match because it taught me so much that I needed to know on how to get lost and in
Yeah.
character.
Oh yeah. No, I definitely know that feeling. I was training at the sanctuary, because after I was doing the seminars, I found a home at the sanctuary and I started training there. Um, so trained there, and I remember I was wrestling one of the kids. His name's Vince. He's we're both students and we're going at it. And at this point, we're just doing like practice matches, and we're just going at it. And like the cool thing about him and I, whenever we go out there, we always just get so intense with each other, just because we came up both in very similar fashions. So like we already have a little bit of that vibe. And every time we'd go, it just we get lost. We'd feel each other out, and like we'd understand like this is where we're at. Like let's let this, let's let this be. Let's feel this moment. Let's feel where we're at. And we would get so caught up in that, and it's such a wild feeling, um, for that. It's insane. Getting lost in the sauce is one of the best things to happen in a wrestling match, I think.
It's funny because like 2 years ago I was working. Was it 2 years? No, it was last year. Last year at C3W, right? And
Okay.
we're working at this event called AFRAM, right? And
Okay.
myself and Chaz and Prince and Noah. This is the first
Gotcha.
time that we all. I think it's one of the first times that we all four shared a ring together, right?
Yeah.
But it was Chaz and myself were going one on one, and it's the first time that Chaz and I had been going one on one, right? We had worked before.
In the
Uh,
dark arts.
well, yeah, outside of the dark arts, it was the first time that we
Okay.
worked a match, right, against
Right.
each other, right? So we had worked, but we were in a fatal four way, um, and so anyway, we're working this one on one, and Chaz and I know each other so well that we could have those moments where we get lost and we just
Yeah.
forget that we have to get back on point.
Yeah.
And so like at one point I remember like I was supposed to be more of the aggressor
Yeah.
and Chaz was supposed to be the face. And mind you, we're at a black event. That's what AFRAM is, African American
Okay.
Arts
Yeah.
and Music, right?
Right.
We're in Baltimore, so we're in his home city at this event, and he's supposed to be the face.
Yeah.
And I remember throwing him into a buckle and looking at the camera and being like, all of you guys need to practice aloha, practice aloha. And the referee, who was Brandon Green,
Yeah.
has a condo in Hawaii, and that's why I said it. And so he's like, I live in Aloha, you know nothing of it. I was like, shoots, brother, I live on the island too. And like I throw Chaz away. And Chaz and I, we just had this more. I was supposed to shoot him off, and I was supposed to throw a line, duck something, and then he was supposed to hit me with something, and then he was gonna run back, and I was gonna hit him with a spine buster. And
Yeah.
instead, I throw the clothesline. He ducks under. He runs back at me. I just pick him up and spine busted him. But it happened
Ah.
so quick that it looked like it was supposed
Yeah.
to happen. And
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna be honest, Chaz. I totally forgot what we were supposed to do. So I just went right into the spine buster. It
Yeah.
was like, yeah, it worked out. Like,
No, it's good that it did.
yeah.
It's good that it did.
But the funny thing is you're talking about the intensity between you and your friend. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody knows this, but you'll start paying attention to it now. And I'm about to show something. And Chaz, I know you're gonna be mad about this. Anytime Chaz slaps one of his friends, that means that he wants to have the intensity turned up in the match.
Yeah.
So I will be standing in a buckle and just get the shit slapped out of me, and I'm like, all right, Chaz, now,
This
now
is
we
what we're
have to
feeling.
fight.
This is what we're feeling.
This is all right. We're turning the intensity up now. You're
Oh
getting,
yeah. All right, Chaz. I hear you.
but it's so much fun getting to work with those guys too, and kind of
Yeah.
like learn from them. But there was moments in there, and that's what I guess where I was trying to really go with it too. Is there was moments in there where we would get lost, right? So where you were having
Right.
moments and getting lost in your character work and stuff like that. Like Osiris was really that first time where I got to just be like shut down everything, shut the brain down, and just go out there and feel it out. And we
Yeah.
it was a 5 minute match. Like I don't think a lot of people forget that when you do practice matches, you're normally supposed to be just about 5 minutes. You're in there, tell a story, get your character over, and like that's it. And
Yeah.
so that's what happened. And so for the first time in like a 5 minute time span, I just like lost everything. I was just like
Yeah.
working.
Just went out there, chilled, felt it, did your thing.
Yeah, it was cool, man. So let me bump this over, right? What's one of the hardest lessons that you've had to learn being in the business?
Ooh. One of the hardest lessons that I had to learn. One of the hardest lessons I had to learn, is you got to be careful about who you trust. Um, It sucks because I've experienced it firsthand. Um, just gotta like some people aren't gonna be who you think they are. Um, and it sucks because you want to give them that second chance. And like with everything, with every ounce of fiber in your being, you want to give them that second chance. Um, but you just gotta be careful. You can't look at them the same. If you do give them that second chance, you cannot look at them the same. And you just got to be really careful about all of that. It's not to throw shade, not to just like diss on anyone. Realistically, like that's not the point of the message. Um, but like it can be tough. Like and that's another difficult lesson that I had to learn too. You're not once you start this and once you get to a point where you're just traveling every weekend, like that's it. um, you're not gonna have the time to hang out with friends or see your family. You're not gonna have the time to be there and around everyone like you would like to be. And that sucks. Um, I think that's been probably the hardest mental grip I've had so far. Just not being around friends, not being around families. Not I have a few young ones in the house. Well, not in the house, but like by the house that I
Yeah.
never get to see. Like, and that's tough. Um, so getting to where that at that point, once you're at that level, um, I, you're in too deep. You got to keep going. Because
Yeah.
if you're gonna just like if you're gonna stop it there at that point, then what was that for? What was that for? You stopped seeing everyone and you gave up. Like what at that point? What are you doing? And like it's not to invalidate it. Like it's too tough. Like trust me, I understand. It's very tough. Um, but you don't waste that time. Go out there, make a name for yourself. Let the world know who you are. And when they do, then see your family. Be with your family. If you can, by all means, please be with your family. And if you're gonna go for it, then you gotta really go for it.
Yeah, I think that's a very important too, and I like that you're like commit. Like that is the biggest thing, right? Be careful of who you trust. I love that lesson because that's definitely a powerful lesson to like. One, you have to learn, but then two, like once you learn it, you're kind of like, hey, like this is where we're at. But then
Yeah.
two, like honestly, commit, right? Like don't
Hmm.
half-heart this, right? People always talk about it like you're a wrestler, you're not playing a wrestler, you're not
Yeah.
you know, you've got to be in that moment and you're gonna commit, like
Oh yeah.
commit to the to your success. That's what you
Right.
should be doing.
And there's people like that are content with being on the independent scene, and people that are content with being in the dark arts. And I think that's okay. I mean, if you're in the dark arts, go to school, get trained. But if you're where you're at, if you're content with where you're at, then that's fine. That is
And stop telling
absolutely
yourself
a
that you're
okay.
too old to get out of the dark arts. I get tired of hearing that.
What was that?
I have people tell me all the time, they're like, "Man, I wish I could go pro." I'm like, "Bro, go pro
Bro,
then."
yes,
They're
you can.
like, "Nah,
Absolutely.
I'm too old." I'm like,
No, you're not.
"Shut up.
No,
Go
you're
pro.
not.
Stop it.
Yeah. Go to school.
Go
Go
to
to school.
school. Learn. Do something with
You're
yourself."
never too old to go to school.
No.
Um,
Fucking you picked up Apple, you can pick up Android and you can still go learn how to pro wrestle. Get out of here. Don't talk to
exactly.
me about it.
Right. No, like there's people that are content on being where they're at, and that's fine. And that's the beautiful thing about professional wrestling. It's an art. You can be where you want to be, and you're gonna find many different forms of where you want to be or how you want to do it, and no way is technically the wrong way. There's always a correct way, or correct. Yeah, there's always a correct way. It's just what that version of correct is.
Yeah.
I've had some fantastic minds. Um, I'll provide one right now. Cowboy Billy Walker. He's a student of Johnny Rod's, and I had the pleasure of being able to work with him and train with him over at the sanctuary. And the way that he'll speak to you and the advice that he'll give and like the way that he speaks that advice, because if you know Cowboy, Cowboy doesn't give you a straight answer. He'll speak it in a riddle, and it's a beautifully crafted piece that he'll speak, and it's an art. Um, and I love it personally. I love the way like he'll give you that advice and how he'll make you feel that advice, and like he's a smart man for he's a smart man for where he is and hanging out at the sanctuary and that stuff. I always one of the best minds to go to. And whereas Billy Walker will give you one piece of advice, J.S. Hawthorne might give you another piece of advice in a different view. Like, again, it's an art. There is no incorrect way of doing this. If so, like, again, if you're content on where you're at, that's totally fine. Just as long as you're happy doing it.
That's really where it's at, man. That's really what really comes down to.
Yeah.
All right, man. So we're going to move over to my favorite section of the 3 Count podcast, right? So this is the 3 Count podcast, 10 count questions. And Mr. Xander, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. And whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Rapid fire questions. All right. Hit me with it.
So we're going to put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And in the words of my favorite color commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
SmackDown.
Favorite movie?
Spider-Man.
Let's go. Okay, so Avengers or the Justice League?
Avengers.
Favorite cartoon?
Ooh, there's good ones. There's so many good ones, especially right now. What's one that I watched recently? Over the Garden Wall.
Okay, I like. Apple or Android?
Android, but I want an Apple.
Okay. Favorite actor?
We'll go. Ryan Reynolds. Why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Some of us pay a whole homage to Ryan Reynolds as a wrestling character.
Yes.
All right. PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Favorite podcast?
3 Count, obviously.
Right? It's not like we don't have this.
You're on it. You got to say it. It'd be rude if you didn't.
Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
Nominate one person that I would want to see on this podcast. Andre Polino.
Cool. I like it. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this show. Favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? I don't know. I'm extremely great. Damn, son. Yeah, well, that's tough.
That's fucking crazy. That damn is your favorite curse word.
Yeah, what the fuck, bro?
I mean, it's a good one too. You can use it kind of like for like all. I think what's great about every curse word is that you can use them for like all scenarios, and then like they mean something different, right? So like you're looking at something, you're like, damn, or if you're looking at something, damn.
Yeah. Something shocking. Damn.
Literally. But no, man. So those are all my questions and stuff like that. So the last thing I need from you is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. If you want to check me out, the most active place that I'll be is on Instagram. Check me out at Zack.Xander1. I'll be right there on Instagram. That's your best place to find me. If you want to check me out. I'll be posting some wrestling clips, pictures, all that fun jazz. And hopefully we'll all have an extremely great time.
Bet. Well,
yes.
He's told you where you can find him. He's given you his handles. We've had a full and honest and open and great discussion here. So the only thing we got to do is our favorite part of a wrestling match. Take it home. Because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering? You see him right there. Zack Xander. Right. So you guys know what to do. Tune in to the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately following us on all of our social media platforms. You're subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're even listening to us on Amazon Prime. Because, yeah, We're there
Bet.
too. You're telling
You
your
bet.
friends about us. You're buying our merch on prowrestlingtees.com or on foryourwear.com. You're doing all that stuff. You're telling your friends about us. You're telling your families about us. You're telling your animals about us. You're telling your enemies about us because, hey, just because you don't like us doesn't mean that they won't like us. But doing all that stuff, commenting, sharing, talking everything up, and then, you're either doing that or you're really just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for that outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii.